Dear students, hello students, good morning. Today we are going to study ecology of animal behavior. This is my last lecture of ecology and animal behavior, lecture number 21. In this lecture we will study ecology of animal behavior in details. Okay, ecology of animal behavior is very important subject, and behavioral ecology is related to this animal behavior. So we define behavioral ecology. What is behavioral ecology? Behavioral ecology deals with the way about of animals. The way about of animals, their habitat, selection and foraging, etc. All of these aspects of behavioral ecology directly influence population biology, and a study of population biology is needed to understand all these factors of behavioral ecology and behavior. Habitat selection. Habitat selection is the rules followed by animals to choose habitat or living place or patches with available food resources, lack of predation risk, good nest sites, past experience, and best suited for their reproductive fitness in the environment. Well, we see that for example, woodland deer mouse, a type of mouse or rat living in woodland or forest, prefer to live in forest where there are more beech nuts and beech nuts for eating, or more nest sites in oak and beech trees, rather than field where there are unbearable high temperature and scanty food of plain areas in the fields. This is habitat selections by the woodland deer mouse. Or foraging behavior, just feeding behavior or feeding habits. Foraging is searching for wild food resources. Foraging affects an animal's fitness because it plays a vital role in an animal's ability to survive and reproduce afterwards, after sexual maturation. Animals or a foraging society face the following choices during foraging or feeding style or behavior of animals. Number one, what item it should be included in the diet of the animals. Number two, most of the time food is not often distributed evenly in the environment, but occurs in patches or clumps or scattered. What path should an animal take between patches, and how should it find out new patches of food in the environment? Number three, when food is depleted in a patch, food is deficient, when should the animal depart from that locations and seek another patch of food in far or near by from the previous patch or foraging spot. Specialist and generalist animals with their capability of habitat selection and feeding habits. That is capability of animals to find a foraging spot on the basis of capacity or capability. They are called as specialist animal, generalist animals. If an animal is efficient at utilization a particular resource only, then it is called a specialist animal of a specific habitat or surrounding with a particular feeding habits in that environment. For example, koala and panda. Koala and panda eat the leaves of the eucalyptus and bamboo trees, for which their digestive system are well adjusted. than any other herbivorous mammals. In the course of evolution, if these trees perish due to any disease, then these mammals, koala and panda, may not be able to survive in their surrounding or habitat. So they are specialist mammals or animals. Generalist. Generalists animals are the animals capable of eating a variety of food, living in a diverse environment with a more vast range of habitats, with survivability or survival capacity. These generalist animals have some demerits of facing competition with other animals everywhere they eat and live in their environment or foraging just field. For example, human being is a good example of a generalist species which is omnivorous and eating every type of food. So, dear student, you see that habitat selection, foraging and optimal foraging societies are the key words to describe foraging behavior of animals. Social behavior of animals. Social animals show these social behavior. In animal kingdom, social species of animal group together with the goal of increasing the overall survival of the species. Social behavior refer to any interaction among two or more members of the same species, form simple aggregation, cooperation and communication in sexual and parental behavior, engage in disputes over the territory and access to mates. But it also applies to animals of the different species excluding predator-prey interaction. Predator-prey, what you call interaction. For example, human beings, social insects, non-human mammals, birds, fishes, amphibians and reptiles. All these animal groups show different type of social behavior in their society and overall just collective living. Well, we see living in groups. Animals when live in groups, it is called living in groups. Population of animals organized into groups in the form of aggregation of individuals for the sake of feeding, drinking and mate selections, etc. Necessity of life. For example, Drosophila fruit flies gather on a piece of rotting fruit, banana. Benefit of group living for the animals. There are so many benefits of being a member of a group of animal group. For example, defense of musk oxen from predator, that is wolf. Musk ox, just what you call cattle type of just bison. Seek its defense from predator wolf. Collective defense, coteries of colonies from predator by seagulls and prairie dogs. Seagulls are birds at the cliff of the living on the cliff of the what you call mountain along the rivers or seas. Prairie dogs are mammals living at the prairie ecosystem. Sociality gives successful reproductive benefits to the social animals by mutual encounter or communications. For example, we see song of birds, endocrine stimulus is a song is a sort of endocrine stimulus between male and female, stimulating each other by their reproductive behavior for making pair in the breeding seasons, for making nests and laying eggs and incubating the chicks. Competition and spread of disease in social animals are some of the disadvantages of group living. In group livings, there are just sick animals and healthy animals are just living together, and spread of disease or epidemic or just pandemic of animals can be just very much chances of these what you call diseases in a congregation or collective livings or living in groups. Okay, dear student, now we see what is agnostic behavior in animals. Agnostery, that is combat, to fight, to face, is called agnostic behavior. In this behavior, both threatening and submissive behavior determines which competitor will gain access to food source or a receptive female mate. Exaggerated posturing and vocalization are shown during encounter by the both contestants to show their strength. At last, one individual stops threatening and ends the display of combat submissively. For example, dogs and wolves show aggression by barking at each other and showing their teeth, erecting their ears, tails, fur, standing upright and looking directly at each other at their opponents. The loser at last sleek its fur and tucks its tail between the thighs of the hind legs and goes away, declaring that I am defeated and I am not just going to fight with you anymore. You are the dominant and master of the territory. Well, we see that during a combat of a mate between two ground squirrel, one may be killed during the duel, fighting of the two males duel. During this type of contest in which one is killed by the other, natural selection favors a strong tendency of the ending of the combat as soon as winner is established. That means just it saves both the just fighter. So natural selection is favoring, instead of killing one just opponent by the other, it just let the both of the fighters survive and keep on their just activities for reproductive fitness and establishment in the environment. Interest and benefit of having territory. Territory is an area an organism defends for use for foraging, that means feeding, mating, finding females for sexual activities and reproduction, rearing young, finding shelters, avoiding predators and unfavorable climatic conditions. That is, these are just factors for which animals select territories or habitats or defend their territory. For example, a song sparrow can occupy 3,000 meter square area. Gannets and other seabirds' territories consist of few square meters, very small area. Many animals occupy a territory during breeding seasons only. Functions of occupying a territory by any animals is to live and carry out all vital activities of life without interference of other animals and maintain with selection force by carrying out reproduction successfully, which is the only way to move the wheel of life to its full circle. Full circles, that is to continue the genetic diversity and overall diversity of what you call galaxy of animals in the ecosystem or global ecosystems, which is the just legacy, natural legacy, or what you call fauna and flora of just human race. Dominance hierarchy, that is leadership. Dominance higher is a type of social hierarchy that arises when members of a social group interact to create a ranking system. In social living groups, members are likely to compete for access to limited resources and mating chances. Altruistic behavior and altruism in animals. That is, how animals sacrifice for the sake of what you call brother animals or siblings or family members. In altruism, an animal gives up or sacrifices some of its reproductive potential to benefit another animals. For example, altruism is seen in Hymenoptera class of insects. For example, honeybees. There are 3 members in the hive. For example, drone, monoplied drone, male and female workers deployed, and the queen also deployed. The workers may pass more genes to the next generation by helping their mother to produce more full sisters, some of whom they may become reproductive queens than if they produce their own offspring. That means these workers never reproduce by help the queens to lay more eggs and produce more female sisters of those workers with which they have common genes, so they think their genetic survival is with their sisters rather than producing their own offspring. Now we see alpha individuals. Alpha individuals are just dominant individuals, mates, or they have status, power, resources, and other what you call capacities. They remains dominant forever. Then we see here are some diagrams of dominance hierarchy. You see altruism in animals describe a range of behavior performed by animals that may be to their own disadvantage but which benefit others. So by behaving altruistically, an organism reduces the number of offspring it is likely to produce itself, but boosts the likelihood that other organisms are to produce offspring with whom they share the gene pool and common gene in the population. Well, dear students, other example of altruism are American crows, a type of crows or raven cooperative breeding shown by those crows. These crows, there are just 4 or 5 pair of crows living in an area, but 2 or 3 pairs are only breeding, and other just 4 or 3 pairs guarding them and protecting them and let them just breed and groom their chicks. Balding's ground squalls also show these altruism. Loud risky alarms calls to flee from the predators are shown by these squirrels. Dolphin and baboons etc. also show this type of sacrifice for their family members or siblings. Although altruism is a personal cost of the factor or a personal cost of the actor, that means who is sacrificing its life to defend other members, it is a potential fatal challenge for the theory of natural selection. Darwin's natural selections can't explain the phenomenon of altruism, that one animal is sacrificing its life to defend its family members with whom it shares the genes. Natural selection doesn't just show any connectivity with this altruism. Mimicry, camouflage, and Warning colorations also shows this what type of behavior. Mimicry, mimos, to imitate. When one species resembles one or more species, often protection is afforded the mimic species. It is an adaptation for survival in which an organism takes on a resemblance to some other organisms or non-living objects to camouflage, to protect themselves or itself from the predators in the environment. We have already just studied all this mimicry in the previous ecology lectures. Camouflage. Many animals have evolved adaptation called as anti-predator methods such as camouflage and chemical toxins. Animals use camouflage to blend with their environment in an attempt to be unrecognized by predators. For example, monarch butterfly contains chemical with toxins, poisons that are secreted into the predator's mouth when it attempts to eat the butterfly by engulfing it. Some butterfly also use warning coloration to give a warning sign to the predator to remind them that butterfly is deadly toxic and should not be eaten at all. This is an warning. That is warning. Or lizards and some lizards and moths, for example, desert lizards also mimic tree trunks and stones color very successfully, as predator will simply move past them as they believe that they are simply looking at a trees or some stone of the brown or gray color. Well, students, you see eye spots pattern on the wings of the butterflies surprise the predator as they think that these eyes belongs to much threatening animals or larger animals for them. That is the eyesight, big eyesight design on the wings of the butterfly and deceive the predator birds that they are not butterflies by some other big animals with big eyes. So they are just saved in this way by mimicking. Praying mantis, just an insect whose hands are just holding up, just like praying to the god. That is why they are just called praying mantis. These insects show aggressive mimicry to the predators. Moth caterpillars, just larvae of moth, imitates the movement of the snakes to avoid their predator and pretending to the snakes that we are not just caterpillars but snakes. Do not come towards us. Be aware, we are snakes. We can just kill you. Batesian mimicry are shown by many organisms. Palatable species, eatable, that is means eatable states species imitate as unpalatable or unedible for predators. For example, bright warning color of wasp with venomous sting is imitated by many other species. Mullerian mimicry, color pattern device of just copying or mimicking, is also used an anti-predatory device which evolved over many generations. Selection will favor the mimics when the mimics are less common than the models, and fitness of the mimics is negatively frequency dependent for the animals. Now the take-home message of this whole lecture is that, dear students, you see that mysteries of life and living organisms at molecular levels are being explored by RDT, ART, stem cell technology under the absolute discipline of genetics and epigenetics. ART means assisted reproductive technology. RDT, recombinant DNA technology, that means genetic engineering. Stem cell technology is another asexual mode of vertical reproductions. You have read just in my lectures. But orthodox or classical biology, that is taxonomy and paleontology, anatomy, parasitology, biometry, biophysics and zoogeography, to mention a few branches of life sciences, will always be supporting pillars of the architect of paramedical sciences. I in bracket I have just written Hercules pillar. This is a very mythological term, need not to explain you. Here I tell you the ICOZN, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. ICOZN, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. So we see, dear student, we must have rudimentary know-how and knowledge of pure biology at any cost, as a layman or a mentor of the subject of biology or life science. Hamilton's rules about altruism. Hamilton's rules about altruism. Price or genetic cost of the actor who is sacrificing states that an allele for altruistic behavior should be spread if B capital small r minus C greater than 0. There must be a sign of greater than 0, but in bracket I have written is greater than 0, where B is the benefit to the recipient, that is family members for whom the actor or animal is sacrificing its life, and C is the cost to the actor in giving its life or sacrificing its life, both measured as number of surviving offspring by the sibling or its other family members producing its offspring at the cost of its own life, which it has given fighting the predator. Okay, dear student, listen and read this lecture time and again to prepare for your exam. Attentive listening, writing and reading are the three collective ways of learning and memorizing your lessons, preparing for your exam. Nothing like good preparations with hard work. Okay, thank you very much and good luck to you.